So I'm going to formally welcome you for the sake of our audio listeners. Lawrence Winnerman, welcome to Freedom Over Fascism Live.
Thank you, Stephanie. It's great to be here.
How, I feel like how are you is not the right question anymore. I think it's like, are you still breathing, or have you, here we are. Have you calmed down your racing heart because the world is so difficult?
Yeah, I
But
think that's a good question, right? Like, have you managed to find calm in your day, even for a moment? I have not yet found calm in this day. I'm hoping that comes later in the afternoon. Um, yeah, it's a good question because I think it really recognizes that everyone is like, we're all living on edge. I feel like if you're not kind of on edge, you're not paying attention to this world that we are living in.
right, and a lot of people choose that because it's actually not so healthy to live on edge all the time. All that cortisol is, um, can do a number on you. So
Yeah.
I'm going to introduce you. Um, Lawrence Winnerman is the Gen Xy co-founder. Okay, I'm sorry. And co-host of the Daily Whatever Show, which I've been on, and Banner and Backbone, which I've been on because you all know it because they're awesome. He is a queer sci-fi author. He's gay AF, and fighting Nazis with snark and cheap teas at t-shirts. That's t-shirts
Yeah.
at alpacalunch.com.
Yeah.
Um, eh, I have an alpaca farm like half a block away from me,
Oh my
but
God.
yeah,
That's
really.
so cool.
Is there anything you want to add to that? Hi, everyone in the chat. I have a hard time writing and talking at the same time. So that's what you're going to get from me. Sorry.
Yeah.
Uh,
That's A-okay. Uh, no, I mean, that's pretty much everything. I guess maybe the only amendment I would make is I'm currently living in Fort Wayne, Indiana, which is where I was born. My family is here. But I spent most of my life, most of my adulthood out in Seattle. And so I'm very much a West Coaster at heart, and I miss it. But I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be in Indiana because my mom is 84, and I kind of always promised I would be here for this phase of her life. So, uh, I'm happy that I did this thing moving home, and also I'm a total fish out of water in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Like I'm this. I don't know if I'm flamboyant necessarily, but I'm not particularly shy about being, queer and Jewish and, a big burly bear dude. And that's not exactly the vibe out here, to say the least.
no, I actually, I told you this once before, but I spent a little bit of a moment in Indiana politics, particularly around South Bend. And the people I know feel like really also like they don't belong because like you're kind of a fish out of water. And I'm glad that we can be here virtually for you because like, I don't envy you being in Indiana. And when I went there, I felt like worried that I'd get shot.
It's, yeah, I mean, it is one of those places in the country where like they have open carry, right? Like hunting and having guns and really being very pro Second Amendment is absolutely a thing here. It doesn't happen often, but there's like a Kroger grocery store that I go to, and there have been a couple of times that I have gone in, just to go grocery shopping, and somebody is literally carrying a weapon, and I'm just like, oh my God, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Uh,
Have you
yeah,
thought
so
about moving her back with you to Seattle?
I mean, my sister and her husband and their kids are here. Like, of all of us, I'm the most mobile, right? Like, it's
Mm.
just me and two cats. I split up with my husband about 2 years ago and decided to move out here. And yeah, it just made way more sense for me to come to them than for them to try to come to me. They love it here. They don't want to leave, uh, and I get that. Like, it is beautiful, right? And Fort Wayne is a nice little city, and it just happens to be much more politically conservative. And I like to joke that we're the last liberals in Indiana. Like we get together, and my family, and we're all very liberal. We still somehow end up yelling at each other over the dinner table
Well,
over
of
like
course,
who
'cause
who can be
you're
more progressive.
Jewish.
Right, right, exactly. And we're Jewish, exactly. Yeah, we're liberals and we're Jewish, so we don't actually agree on anything, even though we agree on everything. So yeah, every family dinner ends up being a shouting match about a political thing or something.
Well, I don't think it would be family dinner without such a thing. We have to tread carefully in my house, 'cause, um, we're all on American politics totally in the same place, but my brother-in-law is Israeli, so we don't talk about, uh, across the pond
Yeah.
at all, and we're not going to right now here. But I am gonna have, Dr. Deborah Shushan on next week or the week after to talk about um, an expert in Middle East politics, so we're gonna do that. Um, so let's get to actually talking about, um, you know, stuff, um, and I think it's one of the most important conversations to have. And so last week, the old guard Democratic consultants that need to retire, the James Carvilles and his ilk, said, well, obviously, Democrats need to appeal to the middle, which doesn't exist, and leave the culture issues aside. And you very correctly, in my opinion, said, wait, 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 the culture issues are the whole shebang.
Right.
Do you wanna talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, yeah. So I've written two articles recently, and they're very much connected, right? And the first one was the article that you're talking about, where James Carville and David Axelrod and David Plouffe um, wrote
Same
a
morning, by the way.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
Sure.
Carville has always kind of annoyed me. But Plouffe and Axelrod, I really have a lot of admiration for, and they co-wrote this position paper called "Deciding to Win." Right, like Democrats have somehow decided to lose previously, now we're deciding to win.
Right.
And part of what there are, and some of the stuff in there is smart. Um, but there was an entire section that was basically about, that part of what Democrats should state is that gender is a binary, right? And
What the f
uh, that,
I didn't actually read the thing, so this is news to me.
yeah, and that advocating for trans issues or for queer issues is part of what's damaging the Democratic brand. And so, that the party as a whole needs to step back from that and align more with what they think is, the middle of the road policy, which is, you know, in my opinion, it's throwing LGBTQIA plus people under the bus, right? Like
Mhm.
it's basically saying, um, that we're going to cede ground on trans people being able to identify as the gender that they know themselves to be, or trans people being able to seek appropriate medical care for themselves to, uh, hormone treatment, for example. And I think part of what they see coming is that the Supreme Court has certainly targeted Obergefell and probably Lawrence v. Texas, which are two landmark cases. Obergefell obviously legalized same-sex partnership, and Lawrence v. Texas is the thing that decriminalized sodomy, right? And so I think what they're trying to say is, these issues don't play well in the heartland, and so we should back away from them, which I think is the exact opposite of the message that needs to be taken, right? The lesson that needs to be learned. Because I think if we've learned anything, it's that people like people who have convictions, who like have the courage of their own faith and their own understanding of the world. And, you know, as a gay person who has many trans friends, I would absolutely see that as a betrayal. Like it would not encourage me to vote for Democrats. It would encourage me to mobilize against them. Not that there's an alternative really, but uh, I just don't think it's going to I think like you said, kind of introducing this topic, the middle doesn't exist, right?
No,
And
it's totally fictional in the minds of these 3 old white men. I
right,
mean, there are there's Democrats who vote, there's we're not gonna talk about those, and then there's people in the middle who don't no 90 million people didn't vote. What makes them think that they're actually in the middle?
right.
It's a false assumption, I think.
Right. I think you're exactly right. Like they are making an assumption that those 90 million people didn't vote because they didn't hear something moderate enough, right? I could make a pretty convincing argument that maybe a significant fraction of those people didn't vote because they didn't hear themselves being represented and they didn't hear the kind of politics, that for lack of a better word, we would call left wing or progressive, that they didn't hear themselves, and the policies that they want being articulated, right? And I think, you and
Or
I and the folks listening to us could probably easily come up with a list of those things, which is, for one, protect queer and trans people, right? And a woman has the right to choose, and bodily autonomy should be sacred, and healthcare and food and shelter should be rights that are available to all people. And hey, maybe this whole capitalism, unregulated capitalism thing we've been doing, maybe it's not working out so great for us in this moment,
or as it didn't in, 1929 through the 30s.
Right,
Um, well, having done politics in the Midwest, I think it's a complete misread. I mean, how many what Iowa and Kansas and a bunch of states, had abortion amendments and passed them. And trans and queer people exist everywhere. I think you're right. They didn't see themselves represented, but also Democrats haven't learned how to talk to people,
right.
to engage their emotions and not just policy, right?
Yep,
People want to feel like they're being talked to, that they are a part of what is going on, not just, you know, um, emotion-free policy. And the Republicans with that horrible, horrible ad, they're talking to they, them, we're talking to you. It's
right,
brilliant. Absolutely, positively
right.
brilliant.
Great messaging on their side.
I mean, not great. I don't
Yeah, yeah,
agree with
no, I
it,
like
but
if
yeah,
you're appreciating it sheerly from, a powerful message, even if it's one that we hate.
yeah. Which they're good at messaging. They pay their messengers. Hi, folks. Send Lawrence or me paid subscriptions if you have the money to spare.
Right.
Um, they pay they pay their folks and they think ahead. They I When I first started this podcast, I talked to Ryan Busey, the Bussy. He ran for governor of Montana. He wrote a book about he was in the gun industry. And he basically said that all of the cultural issues that the Republicans were pounding on now, that in the gun industry were what they were pounding on 15 years ago.
Hmm.
That it's not new, it's just part of a longer plan. And I think that, you know, our side likes to plan in election cycles, and that's just not
Yeah.
not enough to tell people, "We see you. We know what you're going through." I see PJ says, Tariffs are taxes, we deserve better." How about something like, no matter where we live, what our background, what language our grandmother speaks, what's in our wallets, we all deserve to live. We deserve food in our bellies. We deserve to feed our kids. We deserve to have health care. And the billionaires are taking it away so that they can fatten their own wallets. But together, if we all work on it, we can overcome that. I
Yeah,
mean, that's like the formal version, but I think MLR, you're right. Dems refuse to adhere or listen to ordinary folks. That is true, but they also can't talk to ordinary folks.
right.
And ordinary folks being anyone who's in the, like all of us.
Yeah. Yeah, it's such a good point, Stephanie. And so Fred Pogue and I have started doing this show on Saturday called Biscuits and Gravy, and we had Tony Michaels on this past Saturday, and he had such a good pivot on this, which is that, you know, so Carville and Axelrod and Pluff, they're looking at this and they're like, oh God, we got to stop getting pinned down on like the trans issue, right? On the bathroom question. And the response to that question isn't to in any way explain how all people deserve the dignity of being able to pee and poop wherever the fuck they need to, right? Like the response to that question is, why are you guys so focused on what's in people's pants
Oh
rather
my
than being
God. Yeah, like
in
they're
people's
obsessed
wallets,
with
right?
genitalia.
Right. Like, why do you keep talking about genitals when you should be talking about dollars and wallets, right? Because you know what most queer people and trans people are worried about right now? How expensive groceries are, right?
Right.
How hard it is to get healthcare because everybody's premiums are doubling and tripling. Like, is somebody going to beat me up on the street wearing a mask and I don't know who or what or why they're attacking me and trying to drag me off to an undisclosed location? Like those are the things that people are worried about. Straight, gay, queer, trans, black, white, whatever. It's yeah, like you don't answer the fucking bathroom question. You tell the fucking Republican, why are you focused on such ridiculous things? You are not serious enough to lead this country. You need to refocus your priorities on what people actually need.
Exactly. I mean, it's amazing to me, and this is a total tangent. I probably will do that a lot today. Um, I've been all
Me
over the
too.
place. um, this Republican slash white Christian supremacy slash evangelical obsession with porn, with who's sleeping with whom, with um, with what's in people's pants. It's alarming and strange
And
and wrong.
why do I know, as a regular US citizen, why do I know that the Speaker of the House has some kind of weird porn monitoring arrangement with his son, right? Like where they have an app that allows them to monitor each other's porn consumption. A, why would you ever fucking admit that? Why would you do that?
Like,
Why
as
do
a kid,
Right. Why
like,
do I have to know that? Like all of that makes me feel dirty and makes me think that maybe Mike Johnson is not sort of sound mind enough to be the Speaker of the House of Representatives. I think maybe there's some therapy or something that he needs to go to, and he should be spending his time there. Like reopen the government and step down and go get the help you need, bro. Like,
right.
I don't know what's going on, but why are you and your kid monitoring each other's porn use?
Yeah.
And telling people about it.
Well, it's clearly some sort of virtue signaling that we just we don't talk about porn. Like, it's
Right,
not even on our, like, bingo cards because people are gonna, you know, watch or consume or do what they want as long as it doesn't hurt anybody else.
right.
It's all good. Um, yeah, and also he doesn't read the news. Have you noticed that?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Everything takes him by surprise. Well, gosh, I haven't heard about that yet. Really?
yeah. The president says he didn't know who he pardoned. Oh, I don't know. Didn't see that.
Mhm.
The rest of America did, but um, uh, what do transgender folks have to do with your ability to feed your family? Yeah,
No,
uh,
exactly, right?
it's weird. Yeah,
Yeah, it is absolutely crazy to me. I just want to say, so I think Frank asked earlier in the chat about the Green Party, like queer folks moving to the Green Party and what I think about that. And I will tell you the truth. One, I'm not sure that the Green Party is not currently being owned or manipulated by Russian disinformation campaigns. So a big red flag for me there. And number two, getting the Green Party on every ballot in every place that we would need it to be, and or starting another party and getting that on every ballot where we would need it to be is far more cumbersome than just showing up to your local Democratic Party meeting. And I'm sorry that this is not a more exciting answer for people. It does mean that we all have to step up and do some work, but go to your local Democratic Party meeting, the county level, the legislative district level, whatever it is in your state, however you divvy things up, go participate. Go be a precinct committee officer for your local party and actually get to know your neighbors and be able to talk to them about issues and be able to escort candidates around in your neighborhood and introduce them to the people who are most likely to vote for them. That is what we do to take the party back and to take the messaging back. And I'm sorry that it's going to take time and that there's going to be a lot of, actual work, like footwork and showing up for meetings and listening to weird people talk about dumb issues that, maybe aren't the thing you want to hear about in that moment. But that's what it's going to take,
That's
right? Like,
part of it. I mean, you'll find that some local Democratic parties are just completely ossified or clueless, and that's the role, is to
for
take it
sure.
back
Yeah.
and to get those kinds of people, those kinds meaning old and calcified, um, out of the positions of power so that
Yeah.
we can actually go forward. There was something that like occurred to me just as you were talking, and not sure what it was. It'll come back. Um, so so being in Indiana must have been like a major body cultural shock, like throwing yourself in ice water. How's how's it going?
Um, I mean, it's okay. It's interesting, right? You and I were kind of chatting about this briefly before the show started. That honestly, the thing that is saving me is Substack, right? It's that I have, I started doing Dana and I founded Gen Xy, and then we started very shortly after starting up the Substack. We started doing the Daily Whatever show, and that has absolutely like saved my sanity because I get to see my best friend pretty much every day.
Right.
And we met all of you incredibly cool people. And I mean, I know it's parasocial relationships, but these are relationships.
So
Yeah, yeah,
I
exactly.
mean, yeah,
Like these are real friendships. I've met people like you, Stephanie, that I don't know we would have crossed paths in any other way. And, you know, and I'm glad to know you, right? And think that we're finding and creating a network of like-minded people, and that is keeping me sane. It's a little weird that like I can't walk out my front door and be like, oh, I'm gonna drive over to my friend's house or anything. It is harder as like a 55-year-old gay dude in Indiana trying to like meet people in real life, just to hang out with and kind
yeah.
of have things in common with. So that part is a little bit weird, but I get to do this all the time, and it's really fun and fulfilling for me. So
I I totally agree. I think the community we're building, I see lots of our friends in the chat, uh, is going to be one of the things that helps us recover, save America. I honestly, truly believe that if enough little groups come together, maybe forming big groups, it is a little bit parasocial. But I have to tell you that the going out and finding friends situation is not actually directly related to being 55 and queer. I have lived in my town for 17 years, and I only have a couple of friends from when my kid was in kindergarten. I mean,
right,
like, it's a thing everywhere. It's really, really hard to make friends as an adult.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, really, society has changed in a way that is more isolating, right? We're all kind of on our phones and in digital worlds more. But it is kind of tied to the other article that I wrote, which you referenced, which is that the politics is culture and culture is politics, right? Like part of the reason I think it's hard to like meet and make friends and form deep friendships is because everything is turned into a battle, right? Like, if you're standing in line at Starbucks and somebody's mentioning something that they like to do, you're probably making an assumption about where they fall politically based on the things they're talking about, right? Like, and some of it, I suppose, makes sense. Like if I'm talking about, drag race, probably somebody's going to assume that I'm left wing. And if somebody's talking about, hunting or something, I'm probably assuming that they're right wing. But it just feels like everything we do and everything we talk about now is political in some way or another. You know, I
Hmm.
I write sci-fi and I keep having this idea for a science fiction short story where like the country has sort of divided into these clusters and it's like if you're in the Pepsi Cola, Ford Motors, Microsoft camp, then you're not allowed to talk to the Coca Cola, Toyota, Apple people, right? And, that like,
That's hilarious.
that we all just get so siloed into our preferences and so like matrixed by advertisers and corporations that it's like, that we kind of end up in these weird clusters of,
I'm sorry. I
no,
was
that's
trying
okay.
to figure
Fucking
out if you
Substack.
had a separate stream, and now I can't see any of the chat because I left. And I'm sorry, guys. So
Yeah.
I'll say hi again and like put your hearts in so that I can see that they're here because the chat just kind of dropped off for me. Yeah. Thanks,
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah, Yanni is saying in the chat, reminds me of the corporate wars and Demolition Man. Exactly, right? Like sci-fi is all somewhat derivative, and so I probably saw that movie years ago, and that stuck with me. But yeah, probably like just yeah, like literally, the tech oligarchs want us to go back to some kind of like corporate feudalism thing, right? Where we're living in walled cities and working for tech behemoth and earning whatever
Hmm.
Twitter dollars or something that we can't spend anyplace else because we have to buy from the company store.
That reminds me, if at some point you can explain crypto to me, I would be very grateful because I don't get it.
If
But
someone could
that
explain crypto to me, I mean, like, I get the blockchain, right? Like, I understand the point there, and I understand the distributed ledger. Ultimately, I think it's not too different from a dollar, right? Like, if you held up a
okay, because it's
dollar,
paper and there's no intrinsic value
right,
to it,
there's
right?
no intrinsic value in a dollar. We all just believe that it has value, right? And the full faith and credit of the US government and blah, blah, blah. And with crypto, you're sort of ex- you're extrapolating that like another level of ambiguity, right? Where you're like, okay, well, the thing that is guaranteeing it is the distributed ledger that keeps a record of every transaction that's ever happened. And I believe it has money because other people believe it. I believe it has value because other people believe it has value. And so, sure, my one Bitcoin is worth $60,000. Sure. Honestly, I think in some ways it's kind of as simple as that. The person we should really ask is Marlon Weems, who I know you had on your show
I know, and
recently.
I told him but I asked him in advance if he could explain crypto to me like I'm 5, and he said, "I'm not really sure." And who Yanni just said, "They can't explain it to me like I'm 5." Like,
Right.
okay, so the fact that nobody gets it is part of the allure. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I guess basically like imagine there's a big giant math calculation uh up in the up in the cloud and
as if that's a real space too.
right, as if that's a real space. Um and every time you buy or trade your bitcoins, it gets written into that giant math equation, and that's how you know that it's real. Um, so
Okay. Actually, the way you explained it, it makes more sense than anybody else has, which is that a dollar bill. I mean, I was a bank teller in my high school and college days, handling large sums of paper money every day. Maybe not every day, maybe twice a week, but whatever. And, it really does feel much more like a piece of paper when you're handling a lot of it than, um, when you just have whatever's in your wallet. If you have,
right. You become inured to the fact that like when you only have like, I don't know, $87 in your wallet, it all feels very real. But when you're like literally counting tens of thousands of dollars, you're kind of like, oh yeah, this is all just a bunch of
right.
confetti.
Yeah, you put like, bundles of 20, I don't remember if they were bundles of $2,000 of hundreds and and put it in the vault or whatever. Yeah, it's like paper. And I hope we get rid of cash at some point soon, but I guess this is what the crypto is, but it's filthy. I don't know if you've thought about how many germs was on
Oh
money.
my God. Yeah. No, I remember reading this thing in like the late 80s or early 90s where it was like if you get $100 bill that's been in circulation for a little bit, the chances of it having cocaine on it were like 99% because some douche bro somewhere probably rolled it up to snort cocaine through it. It was
Oh,
I remember reading that and just being like ew, and also like my God.
right. Yanni says, what scares me about getting rid of paper money is that there's more control over what you can spend your money on. Yes. And there's more control over people knowing what you've spent your money on. Um, I totally, I agree. But cash is kind of, um, whatever, difficult and outdated. And some people probably can only function with cash. And it's totally privileged to talk about, using my phone and my card and my whatever to buy things.
Yeah.
Um, so, um, so let's go back to culture is politics and politics is culture.
Yeah.
And the reason I want to is that I've been talking for a really long time about how we need to learn to talk about politics without talking about politics. And that's probably talking about culture. That's what you and Dana do every single day.
Right.
Um, and the right figured it out somehow. I mean, it's Nazi or it's trad wives or it's, but they have figured out how to blend it so that when they're talking about trad wives, they're actually talking about, you know, the entire patriarchal hierarchy. Um, so how else? I mean, you and Dana have totally the right idea, right? You talk about some politics, you talk about music, you talk about all these things, and that's what we need to be doing is coming together around um culture, movies, music, whatever. Wicked. We could all come together around Wicked.
Right. Yeah.
Um so what are your thoughts about, I mean, you've done it. So you're one of the few, I think, who's managed to do it on our side. The right does it all the time. So what's your thought about the talking about politics without talking about politics?
Um, yeah. I'm gonna veer into slightly gross territory here for a minute, and I will not dwell there, I promise. And if you watch the Daily Whatever show, or if you've watched Biscuits and Gravy with me and Frederick, you've kind of heard us mention this. But I think this is a good example of talking about it. So Dana follows a content creator. His name is God, I don't remember.
Is
Something
that the
Professor.
music for the old? The new music for the
No,
old?
no, not music for the olds. Like that's great. Like so that guy is that's Christian Finnegan writes new music for the olds. And he's kind of talking about uh culture from the perspective of like he's a Gen X guy who likes listening to new music and recommending it to other Gen X folks. And that's brilliant, right? But that's not really talking about politics per se, like not quite all the way there. So there was a story recently that Dana found about women who are reporting that they are hooking up with straight men, cis straight men, who who are so bought into the toxic masculinity, Andrew Tate world of things that they are not washing their behinds. They are not
What?
properly wiping. I'm not kidding. It's a real thing. And
Oh,
so,
because they think if they touch their butt, they're gay?
yes, exactly. Like you got it in one. Like congratulations, you understand how our modern culture is working. Yes, they think if they touch their butthole, they're gay. And so apparently this is a real thing. And Frederick and I were talking about this in terms of like uh like dude, if you think that, you are so cooked. Like you are just so absolutely like up your own ass in terms of being afraid of your own masculinity and your own body and your own sexuality in every possible way, that you are doing something disgusting and unhealthy and like literally toxic. And and yeah, women aren't going to sleep with you. Like you will be involuntarily celibate at that point because no one would touch you. Why would they touch you? It is not a power play. It is self-humiliation of the grandest form. So yeah, like I think
They're not gonna get their salad tossed. Okay, sorry.
yeah, that ain't nobody getting their salad tossed there. That is for sure. But also it's a like as people on the left and as men, like Frederick and I need to be able to talk about that and say, this is gross and this is dumb and you're being a fucking idiot, right? And that's not a political conversation per se, but it is because things like this have become political, because you and I both know that all of the dudes who think that probably voted for Trump, right? All of
Yeah,
them,
I mean,
you
because it's
know, right. The Venn
ridiculous.
diagram is practically a circle.
Circle.
And so it absolutely is a thing that we need to talk about. And Courtney's saying hearing this on biscuits and gravy was one too many times. I know, I'm sorry, but it is the perfect example for what Stephanie is asking right now, so sorry. um but I mean, Dana and I on the Daily Whatever show, we're also like, we admit, we all the time we say we wanted to do this because we kind of wanted to create an old school morning show, like an old school radio morning show where we could just kind of shoot the shit and talk about anything. And it's just because we are all drowning in politics 24/7, 365, that the show feels so political all the time. Like, today being able to talk to Jason about his photography felt amazing, right? Like we could look at this dude's beautiful photography and it was mostly not about politics, but still politics nips at the edges of that because we were talking about international travel and you know disposable income, right? And being able to like have a hobby that you can afford to do. So yeah, everything is fucking politics in one way or another, and that kind of seeps into everything that we're all doing all the time.
Yeah. Even especially, like, baseball. I guess it's
Right,
always politics. I mean, I
right,
haven't paid attention to baseball in a long, long time, but I grew up at Dodger Stadium, basically.
yeah,
And it still pulled me in when I haven't, like, paid attention for 30 years at least.
right, right. I mean, how many people were rooting for the Blue Jays because the idea of a Canadian team winning and, you know, possibly going to Ottawa to talk to Mark Carney instead of going to the White House to see Donald Trump, kind of
I think Mark
gave us a
Carter
little
should just
thrill.
invite both groups anyway,
Right, right.
you know? I watched a 20-minute version of the last game, which I highly recommend if you like to know, like, be able to talk about it, but don't wanna sit through 3 hours of a game. Um, and, uh, and my heart was pulled in 2, yes, I want Canada to win, but that, like, childhood allegiance is strong. It's
Yeah.
strong in the body. It's like the music you listen to in high school is the music that you know all the words to all the time.
Yeah, no, for sure. And, you know, like, here's the thing that struck me was, and I know we've got Canadian friends on the chat. I watching the home games for Toronto, right? The games that were played, you know, at Rogers Stadium in Toronto, and seeing at the beginning of the game the Canadian national anthem and the big Canadian flag being unfurled on the field, and the response of the home crowd to the Canadian national anthem, like literally singing their fucking hearts out and cheering every time. God, I'm going to butcher this. What is the line? You know, stand on guard for thee, right? Like every time that line came up, the entire crowd would cheer. Like I fucking cried the Canadian national anthem because I was like, God damn, remember when we used to be that proud of America?
Yeah. Although, you know, we had our blinkers on, blinders, what
Sure.
call them, you know, and I think the thing about this period is that there's no dog whistles anymore. It's
Right.
all just right there. Um, so yeah, I mean, like talking about that game, right? We end up talking about politics. Um,
Yeah.
um, I do want to shout out, I don't know if Nick's here, probably not, but he played music that he wrote on his Live with Walter today. And that's a really good way to like sort of de-stress from the daily um, grind of knowing what's going on in the world. Okay, so circling back, what's your favorite thing, not political thing that you guys talk about on the daily whatever? What do you like to talk about most? Or even on any of your lives that you go on with other people, with Better Backbone, wherever.
Yeah, I think I mean, I do love music. You know, Dana absolutely like Dana loves music kind of unlike very few other people I've met in my life. And I mean, I know there are many of us who love music and feel very passionate about it, very personally identified with it. Um, uh, I love when we get to talk about music. And here's the funny thing. I'm not necessarily a fan of 80s music because there's so much that I've heard so many times. I'm very new music oriented. So having somebody like Christian Finnegan on to talk about new music for olds, like that just kind of lights me up, right? Like being able to talk about um, things that are, you know, fresh and you know, that might be speaking to younger generations, but that still also, you know, really resonate with me. And I'm very sort of I don't know, pantheistic isn't the right word. My musical taste is really broad, right? Like I love classical, I love jazz. There's country music that I love. There's rap music that I love. There's like electronica and new age and experimental music and like you name it. And so that moment of finding a piece of music that really just sort of like turns your heart on and lights you up inside, I love that. Like I chase that. I know that Dana does too. Dana's very like she has a very specific set of music that she likes. And I mean, there's so much music even in just that one genre that she often finds things that really light her up too.
Right.
But finding and sharing that, I think it's a way I think it's a way for us to de-stress and ground. And I mean, it's not impossible to make music political, but it at least feels like it's a step or two away from the normal political conversation, you know?
It is. And I think that's healthy. Um, I don't know you, Frank. I just want to make a comment about what Frank said in the chat. ICE are assholes, absolutely. But bringing Islam into the Christian supremacist narrative is really not giving Muslims very much space to be Muslim. We don't need to refer to Christian nationalists as the American Taliban or something like that. There's no reason to bring Islam into the Christian white Christian supremacist narrative. So that's the way I feel, and if that's a problem, Frank, you're welcome to find another stream. Islam did live with Christianity for not hundreds of years, thousands of years. If you, I can do the whole, the people at Islamic regimes had a special category for Jews and Christians called dhimmi, where Christians and Jews in Islamic society had control over personal law. So birth, death, marriages, divorces were in the religious courts, and there was no civil court, and everything else was in the Islamic. So the world did exist before America as we know it today. Um, that's a tangent. That's a really big
Yeah.
tangent.
Well, and
Um,
it makes me want to be pedantic and be like, Sharia just means law. So you're just kind of saying law when you say Sharia law.
right, you are, but there's no reason to have Sharia be part of Christian supremacy. Christians have a nice long history of hating people and killing people. You don't need to bring anybody else into it.
Right, right. Yeah. Uh, I think maybe we could all sort of agree that fanatical religiosity has a not great history in this world of treating people who are different or who believe different things well. They just don't. Look at the Inquisition, for example. you
No
know,
one expects the Spanish
no
Inquisition.
one expects the Spanish Inquisition, and yet there it is. It happened.
No, one of my professors when I was in graduate school, I took a class on radical Islam because my doctorate is in Middle Eastern studies from a secular um, Arab Syrian guy who wrote a volume after the 1967 war. It was called like Self Analysis After the Defeat or something. And he was guest teaching at Brandeis. Um, and I was like, does the government know you're at a kind of Jewish place? He's like, no. But point. Oh, he's teaching us about radical Islam, but most of the course was about Christian fundamentalists. We didn't call it supremacy at that point, because it's basically if you look at some of the Christian national stuff and the radical Islam stuff side by side, and the Jewish supremacy stuff, you'd see almost the same language in all of the different radicalized religious um, groups. Wow, that went far. Um, let's bring it back. Um,
We
okay,
can do it. We can bring it back.
yeah.
It's election day. What are your predictions, Stephanie?
My predictions are
By the way,
that
I'm totally jealous of the dappled sunlight that is shining in your eyes right now. It looks like you're having a beautiful day wherever you are, and I'm totally, totally jealous of that.
it is a beautiful day. I have not stepped a foot outside. I'm looking at a giant sliding glass window into the backyard where, oh, you know what I'll do? I'll give you guys just a little hint of what my view is right now.
Yeah, beautiful.
So, I'm uh, I really, really hope Mamdani wins. I really, really hope Spamberger wins. I haven't followed New Jersey at all. Um, and I'm going to go with our site is passionate and showing up.
Yeah.
So, what about you?
Yeah, I think Mamdani is the next mayor of New York City, right? Like I think he's going to win in a very large fashion. The polling that I've seen suggests that Spanberger is looking favorable. The attorney general race in Virginia is much, much closer and, and pretty critical to her being able to get a lot of good things done. And then the Mikey Sherrill race, she's a total badass. I adore her. I think she'd be a great governor. Um, but the race has been polling much closer, so I, in my secret heart, I want to say that we're going to win in a fucking blowout in every race. But, the last time I thought that was
Well, I
really
think
bad.
okay, another tangent, 2 tangents. Number 1, it all turns on who shows up, right? It
Yeah.
always does.
Yeah.
I think, and here's, um, I think she did win big. I think Kamala did win big, and they found a way to, Zev Shalev has done a lot of research on this, found a way to hook up some of the voting machines to Starlink to change the votes in real time. I really believe that.
Here's the thing. I really believe that too, right? I didn't want to. And I really tried to talk myself away from that line of thinking
Mhm.
because I guess I didn't want to be painted as like a crazy tinfoil hat person. But the more that I've kind of learned and just sort of logically what I know to be possible, um, it makes a certain amount of sense, right?
Well,
And
mathematically, it does not make any sense that he would win all of the swing states by just enough not to trigger a recount.
right. I mean, there are all kinds of little tells, right? Like so again, I'm a science fiction writer and I'm, thinking of short story ideas all the time. And, one of the things that I like to kind of think about is like, what are we going to do when 10, 15, 20 years from now, someone goes back and does some kind of statistical analysis on the election, right? And comes to the irrefutable conclusion that it was in fact stolen. Because I believe probably the data's all there, right? Like the data probably exists that if we had a big enough picture, and to piece it together, we could probably prove it.
Mhm.
And like in that moment in time where we're going to be like, yeah, so the Trump catastrophe that destroyed America, actually, he stole the election. Like how are we going to, I mean, we have to live through this moment in time first, but I mean, what if we found that out tomorrow? What would be the remediation, right?
There's no remediation. There is a forensic, computer forensics expert that was writing on Substack a while back who did do that kind of research and
Yeah.
came up to the conclusion that she actually did win big, even without the idea that Starlink changed the uh, votes. There's not. I mean, we could, all of us go try to stage a coup. I mean, you can't.
Right. Right.
You know.
Yeah. I mean, this is such a 21st century vibes thing to say, right? But my gut instinct is usually pretty on target, and I was certain that she was winning. Like the vibe on the ground was so strong that she was going to win that it doesn't actually make sense to me that she didn't. Um, and also that is the kind of bullshit that you can't take to court.
Right.
Like, oh, I've got a pretty good vibe detector and I'm absolutely certain that it wasn't supposed to go that way. That's not a thing that really is gonna, get anything overturned. Um, yeah,
Yeah. No. Maybe it'll get decided someday in the International Criminal Court or something.
yeah,
Okay. So the question I always ask people is when we start to rebuild, after everything is destroyed, what are your crazy, radically creative things that you want to see in a new America?
awesome. Okay. I love this question. I have many answers for you. Here's the one that I'm going to pitch you today, which is the House of Representatives must be massively expanded, right? So there's data that shows that a nation that has a lower chamber or, the kind of whatever the more representative body in their legislature is, when the size of that body is the cube root of the population, that is basically a democracy that is functioning really well. Like it's just sort of a rule that if the legislative body is as big as the cube root of the population, like probably you're going to have enough voices represented in the legislature that you can kind of keep the train on the tracks. So for us, that would be something like 1,600 people, I think. So going from 435 to 1,600 sounds like, it would break the system. Um, but the thing that so one, it's legal because the size of the house is set through the U.S. code. It was set back in the 1910s or the 1920s, I think. Or maybe it was slightly later than that.
It was the 20s.
Yeah. So at 435, right? And it has not been updated since. It is absolutely within the power of Congress itself to update the US code so that we could increase the size of the House of Representatives. The size of the House is not set in the Constitution. It is not. It is absolutely up for the Congress itself to determine the size. And so if we had a congressional body that was at least 1,000, right? 1,600 seems too big. Consider at least 1,000, or consider at least doubling the size of the House. I mean, sure, you'd have the logistics of figuring out how to get enough seats into the House rotunda, blah, blah, blah. But
I have an answer for that.
yeah, we
Get
could
rid
figure
of the
that out.
Senate. I think we need a unicameral legislature.
Oh my God. Okay. So in my book that I am self-publishing on my Substack, my other Substack, I have created Cascadia as sort of my ideal nation. And the Free Republic of Cascadia in my book has a unicameral legislature that follows this Q root rule. So it's a really large deliberative body. And one of the things that does is it ensures that there's enough representation that you could start getting some minor party representation into the House, and you would start to see something slightly more parliamentary in terms of alliances being formed. So you could,
You have to
you
be
know,
coalition to.
right. Maybe the Democrats wouldn't stay one big party, right? There'd be a sort of centrist Democrat party, and then there would be the progressive wing that would split off and maybe be sizable enough that, in some weird circumstance, maybe they form an alliance with the right wing party because there's something in common that they want to try to achieve, right? So I think drastically expanding the size of the House is something that we must do. And even if we don't get rid of the Electoral College, which of course we must and we should, it does start to change that dynamic as well because you get to, uh, you know, if California suddenly has, 400 representatives or something, um, at least you get to a point where maybe it starts to change the dynamic in some of the electoral math.
Well, I think so. A friend of mine, you should all follow Aviv Russ. Um, he's at the Groundwork Agency. He works a lot with Anat Shenker-Osorio. He just wrote a piece today, all about Gavin Newsom, which we can discuss in a different time. But 1 in 9 Americans live in California. I mean, that's a shitload.
That's
The
crazy. Yeah.
technical term, right?
Yeah.
Um, all right. So I'm with you. I'm completely with you. Um, it is 1:59. Give me one other quick one, and then let's wrap up.
Yeah. So another one that kind of goes along with that is I think we should also look at multi-member districts, right? Where maybe each district has more than one representative. And it kind of accomplishes the same goal in the sense that um, it allows for greater diversity of voices from a single district to represent that district. If
So in
you've
some
got,
ways, that really is parliamentary because then,
right.
so basically, you want a parliamentary system.
I mean, I think that within the context of the Constitution, the things that we could do to get us to a more parliamentary system would be incredibly healthy for the overall political discourse of this country. Yes.
Agreed. Agreed. Um, so, uh, okay. Would Cascadia include British Columbia, Lawrence?
Absolutely. Yes. So
Oh,
in
you
the
already
map
did.
that I drew, in my map, Cascadia absolutely includes, I actually have a map
Oh,
of
bring
from
it.
my
Bring
book.
it.
All right. So you can see here,
Oh,
here's
yeah.
Cascadia.
Uh-huh.
So California is its own place. Obviously, it's the future. I fucked some shit up in terms of what goes where. But Cascadia is Oregon, Washington, pieces of Idaho and Montana, all of British Columbia, and Yukon. And I did that in part because I was really attached to the idea of aligning it to the actual Cascadian watershed,
Uh-huh.
which is, you know, a thing that is not particularly a geographic boundary, but I just like the idea of kind of building a country around a natural feature like a watershed, and then sort of turning it into a left-wing liberal paradise.
Well, in New England here, uh, there are, let's just say, not simply one Reddit thread about the Republic of New England.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you can see more. I published the map on my website, on my Substack, my other Substack, lwinner.substack.com.
Okay,
Um,
yeah, tell everybody all the places they can find you.
okay, so Dana and I have GenXE. The URL is genxe.io, and that is our Substack where we produce the Daily Whatever show, our morning show. We also do a lot of kind of political and sort of cultural writing there. And then lwinner.substack.com is my personal one that is science fiction. It's where I publish my science fiction short stories, and where I'm serializing my novel that includes Cascadia.
All right.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Well, everybody, if you're not already subscribed to both of us, and hit that subscribe button at the top. I know children are starving, but if you have extra, we could all use a little bit of payment for our hard work. So
Right. Yeah, I
paid
think
subs are welcome.
yeah, my pitch for that is I think we're building the media of the future. I think we're building the new media infrastructure here. We can see that CBS News and all of the rest of the networks and the New York Times and the Washington Post are bought and sold and paid for by billionaire interests. And Stephanie, I don't think you're a billionaire. I am definitely not a billionaire. I'm trying to make ends meet by talking to people and telling the truth, wherever I can. So,
Yeah, I couldn't say it better myself because I'm doing the same thing.
yep,
So anyway, I love this community we're building. I love, love, love it. It
me too.
has really energized me, and I hope I see so many people in so many of our different lives, and hi, Kat. Um, that I think we're doing good and
I do
wrong,
too.
but I think we're doing good.
Yeah. And I just want to say, Stephanie, I've loved getting to know you, and I think there's lots of future collaboration here. And thank you for having me. It's been a real honor to get to talk with you today.
Well, I think it's great. I think we should design an entire political system together,
I
and
love it.
then
Let's do it.
and then it'll be done, right?
Right. This is literally like, I don't know about you. I was the nerd in school who wanted more homework so that I could do something like, have a project where I designed a political system or a country. Like,
Well, that's because you got up here and
well, yeah.
they weren't, they were making you bored. But everybody, thanks for coming, and I will see. Okay, tomorrow at 1, I'm going to do an AMA because tomorrow at 2, I'm going to be on with the Blue Ant Media guys, which Lawrence can tell us more about. And I can't do 2 conversations in one day. It's too much for me. So, Lawrence, why don't you tell us about Blue Ant Media?
Yeah. So, Blue Ant Media is a Substack founded by Cliff Schechter and David Schuster, who is with TYT and does Rebel HQ. Is Cliff's kind of partner in crime in producing Amped Up, which is the show they do every Wednesday and Thursday at 2 p.m. Stephanie is on tomorrow. It's the episode where we do it on StreamYard and broadcast it to YouTube and Substack and all over the place. And also, yeah, it's just they're a great set of guys, and having the important conversations And it's a big network that I think it's been great to kind of get to be a piece of it and find some places to collaborate and ally across Substack.
Yeah, I think the more of that we do, um, the better.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for being
Thank you,
here.
my friend.
I'm not on the computer, so this wasn't no,
Right, right. Yeah, it's
but I'll still do a heart in the computer. It like
I know, I love that.
yeah. Thank you all of you who have joined us for being here, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks,
Great.
Stephanie. Bye bye.
Bye.